welcome back to Unboxed with Joe, where we talk stories on the cuff on topics we don't run away from. The podcast where we unpack real stories from real people. Whether you're tuning in from work, at home, or abroad, I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode features a very special guest, not just a colleague, but a friend who I had the pleasure of working with back in Maui. Alan Castellanos is currently the Food and Beverage General Manager at Las Vegas, but his story didn't start at the top. It started from the bottom, literally, as a busser and a host in Las Vegas. With Mexican roots and relentless work ethic, Alan climbed up through every rung of hospitality industry, never forgetting who he is or where he came from. Today, he's not only managing one of the most prestigious operations in Las Vegas, he's also balancing fatherhood and the constant demands of leadership in an industry that never sleeps. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation. Thank you
Oh,
for joining us today, Alan.
thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You're not in Las Vegas right now. You're in Thrilla in Manila.
Yeah, I'm in your motherland. I'm in your motherland. I'm in Manila. How fitting, huh? How fitting.
Yes, very fitting. And I wish I was able to be there because I'm definitely missing the motherland. But this is all about you right now, Alan. So let's start at the beginning. What do you remember most about growing up in Las Vegas, and how did your Mexican heritage shape the man you are today?
Growing up in Las Vegas, I think it's a very diverse area. You know, it's a big melting pot, all sorts of cultures. There's lots of adventures to be had in Las Vegas. You know, whether it's hanging out as a little kid underage in like Latin nightclubs, right? Or I remember sneaking into hotel rooms while the Cosmo was under construction and kind of seeing all that, seeing the big suites and the big presidential areas. That was fun. Something you do as a mischievous kid. All those types of things that I guess kids don't really have access to in different cities. As far as my Mexican heritage, I did spend a few summers in Tijuana, and I think that kept me cultured, right? Waking up in the mornings, walking up the street, picking up tortillas for breakfast, going to the candy stores with my pesos. And back in the day, a few pesos could get you a lot. So that's an experience. You know, I remember Tacos El Gordo, which is a staple in Vegas now. I remember the original in Tijuana. So I remember being excited when that expanded to Vegas. At school, being the plug for all the Mexican candy, the Mexican sodas and those things. So yeah, it was a pretty fun, upbringing.
That sounds very fun. Was hospitality something you always envisioned for yourself? Or was there a moment when you realized, okay, this is what I meant to do?
Yeah, I think naturally in Vegas, it's a big source of income for most people that live here. Hospitality, right? Las Vegas Strip. Most people, their parents work on the Strip, whether it's housekeeping or PAD, restaurants. I think it's very common for kids that grow up here to kind of look forward to getting a restaurant job or a front desk job, things like that, because those are the highest paying jobs in the city, and there's a lot of those jobs. I think most people that live here end up in a casino some point in their life here for sure. So for me, I think having my parents work at MGM Grand and Bellagio and the Wynn, I always kind of saw that for myself as well as a little kid.
Wow. And I've seen your resume from McDonald's to Outback Steakhouse to ticketing supervisor to Strat and more. That's a real grind. What did those early jobs teach you?
And I always respect when I see McDonald's on someone's resume because it teaches you urgency, it teaches you fast pace, it teaches you to multitask. So whether it's that or whether it's like a barista at Starbucks, I always have respect for that when I see it on a resume. Whereas someone might not, someone might see that and say, oh, it's just McDonald's. But as someone that worked at a couple McDonald's actually, and ended up as a shift supervisor there. I understand what it took to work in that environment. It's a good first exposure to high stress environment for sure.
I myself worked at McDonald's the first time, my first year in the US when I first migrated. And I have a lot of respect for people that actually starts from that kind of job. I am with you on that one because they don't know the pressure that comes with the job.
Yeah, and it's full circle. It's nice, when you're picking up your coffee and you see like kids, you have a compassion, and you could tell like they see you in a suit and they want to be you one day. So it's pretty cool to have that. And even remember when I was working the drive-through, seeing those nice cars and those people like on the phone, look busy, look important. So now it's like a full circle. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's also a great experience to actually see. I started from where they started, and now my progression. You can actually see your progression from when you were working in fast food, and now you're working in a billion-dollar corporation.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like it went by super fast, but when you
Mhm.
think about everything that you've been through, it's been a lot. It's been a ride.
You've held many roles from beverage manager to assistant general manager and now general manager. Which role do you feel pushed you the most and why?
think I think the kind of interim GM role that I was in during the pandemic in Hawaii, that was pretty intense. Because they laid off all of the managers. They only brought back myself and Dre. I don't know if you met Dre. Shout out to Dre. It was just us two for several different outlets, bars, like a 7 pool, massive operation, bistro, room service, a cafe. We did a conversion to a dinner restaurant. So all those different teams of employees, all those different payrolls, all those different schedules at a time where resources were limited. There was one executive steward, there was one executive chef, there was one person in the warehouse. So we were like picking up our own orders. Like I figured I learned how to use a pallet jack. I think that's what it's called. Went to go get my own order, tried not to scratch any walls, went up the elevator and those type of things, right? Like there was no IT. If a computer was down, like you kind of had to figure it out on your own. I went to school for graphic design, so I redid all the outlets, menus. I got more involved in wine. There was a lot of distributor issues, so like I rebuilt wine lists and even just the cleaning. When we came back after like 8 months that it was down, there was like spiderwebs covered the whole bar. There's a lot of critters, big old centipedes in Hawaii and all this stuff and all this like mold on the freezers and things like that. Like, there was no cleaning team. It was just me and Dre. We were on our hands and feet scrubbing everything down. So that was intense, but it was a moment where we were grateful to have been selected to be brought back at a time where no one was working. And it was a good experience where it's kind of hard to top what it took to go through that now. But even the role that I'm in now, it's very a lot of responsibility, and you're stretched in 100 different directions. So I think it's a different impact, but both very challenging and both kind of taught me a lot, and it's still teaching me a lot about myself, about how to prioritize, about how to manage my time, how to disconnect. So yeah, I'm still learning, still learning.
We learn every day, right?
Mhm.
So you
For
and
sure.
I crossed paths in Maui at the Grand Wailea. That place was something else. What you're explaining and how you're describing it from my previous question. What do you remember about your time there and what lessons did you bring back with you?
Well, it's a good question. I think Hawaii was very genuine as far as relationships and people, whereas Vegas is more like robotic. It's more transactional. It's more you're walking through the hallways and it's weird to say hi to someone. A lot of times they don't wave back. Like it's weird, so you learn not to be that way. But in Hawaii, it's the opposite. In Hawaii, like, people know you by name, well, even if you're not in the same department, you meet each other, and, it's a small community. So you see people like every time you go to a grocery store, you see people from work, or the bar, restaurant, like you see people from work, especially during the pandemic. We got together, different people. I think you and me got together, right? Was that during the pandemic, after pandemic? So that's something that's different from Hawaii and Vegas. So I think that's a good trait to have. I could have kept in that direction of just focus on myself and maybe not think about relationships so much. But in Hawaii, it's different. In Hawaii, it's like you stay in touch, you build relationships, you stay like in the know of what each other's doing. You know, I still talk to Dre. She's a retired stay at home mom now. So I think that's a good thing that I learned from over there.
Maui, specifically Grand Wailea, really taught me a lot of lessons that I won't be able to find anywhere else. That's for sure.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think, as beautiful as the island is and the people, every place has its shadows. One of the things I did have a hard time is the separation of the management and the employees, where the regular employees are they're unionized versus the management aren't. So it was also hard for my end. It was a little bit challenging to implement change when people are set in their own ways. But people in Hawaii are very warm and welcoming. I'm not trying to like badmouth Maui, but in the workforce, I'm not talking about personal. It's just a different thing to tackle.
Yeah, when I first moved over there, myself and the GM, Marco, you remember, we were public enemy number one because he came from Beverly Hills, I came from Las Vegas, and we were entering a team where they didn't know what attendance points were. No call, no show was okay. They were doing their own tastings on their own time. So I got a few threats when we first got there. People telling me it's a small island. You pissing a lot of people off. So I remember that. But what was cool was that once we did our job and we started holding people accountable, people warmed up to that. People wanted that. People were tired. And I think I've learned that over there too, and I've applied that to most rooms that I work in. Is people want to see the person that's not pulling their weight be held accountable, even if like in their face, their friends and whatnot, they find joy when they see that a manager is holding the less productive ones accountable versus them, that they have a high work ethic. In secret, they like it. So I think after that storming period, people warmed up to us. And when I was leaving, I got a lot of, we're going to miss you cars. Thank you for everything, all that. So I think I learned that that's a normal process. You come in, you set your expectation in a room that might not have had those expectations or those standards. You might, piss people off at first, but, once, a few months go by and they see like you're being fair with everyone and, you have like a higher purpose, and you're doing things because you care and not because anything's personal. People like that. People like the leadership. People like structure, and at the end of the day, like people will appreciate it. So you got to trust the process. Yeah, trust the process. As hard as it is, as much hate as you get, you just keep doing what you're doing because you know you're doing right. You know that you're coming from a good place, and you know that that's your job. I heard an expression before that says like from a previous mentor. He said, if everyone likes you at work, then you're not doing your job. You're just not, because it just means that anything goes. There's no rules. You guys come in late. It's okay to get guest complaints, things like that. Like, so if everyone likes you at all times, you're probably not doing your job as a leader. I think that's very true.
That statement just made me feel better because I was hated for the most part over there during
Yeah,
my time. But I know within my heart that I was just trying to do the best that I could. And majority of the management that I actually hire from that company is outsourced from the mainland. So going to Maui, what a lot of people doesn't understand or realize is the system of how we work in the mainland is very different from how they work in the island. Just like what you said earlier, people just do their own thing, while in the mainland, we can't do that. There's
yeah, it's
standards, there's
rules.
protocols, and there are
Hmm.
rules. I still talk to some of the people that I work with in Maui. Some of my cooks that I still talk to, like my nighttime cooks, they still say hello and hi to me and wanted me to come visit. I'm pretty sure you have those staff. The staff
Yeah,
does the same thing for you, right?
yeah, we've stayed in touch. They're on my social media, so they're gonna be lifelong friends.
Yeah, it's definitely a good time and a great learning experience. But I am one of the good things that actually had happened to me in Maui was meeting you because
Uh,
you taught me a lot of things, especially how to be patient and how to stay unbothered because you know how much
oh
stress
yeah.
I was having during that time when I was working over there. I just want to take this opportunity to actually thank you for all those times that you actually like stood by me and like being there for me meant so much and truly a lot for me. So thank you, Alan.
Yeah, of course. It's good. It's good to be that source for someone and you as well. You know, you were like a source of joy for me, you know, like you need that. You need those people because it is a stressful environment and there is a lot of hate that gets thrown at us, right? So it's good to have those people to lean on. It's very important, right? To do that for people. Like even when you left relationships, it's like you want to help people, right? So like you did your own thing, you started your own business. I was handling the retail at Cafe Cola. One of my jobs was to stock those shelves, right? And I was supporting your product,
Mm.
Filipino product. I was like, let's put it on the shelves. I think the pandemic ruined it for us, right? Because that was
Yeah.
before the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we tried. I started ordering your stuff, putting it on my shelves, and that was it. I wish we could have seen, you know, what the sale outcome would have been for that. You know, it was a good time. You know, but everything happens for a reason. At least you know that I had your back. I wanted to support your business. I know that if I had, you know, whatever business I had, I know that you would have my back as well. And that's what we're here for, you know?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, if you started selling your own line of clothing, I'm definitely gonna buy first in the line. You know, I have nothing but appreciation and gratitude towards you, Alan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you.
So you mentioned wine earlier, and let's talk about wine. You were also a property wine manager before. What was it like running an 18 million wine program and pivoting through supply chain challenges during the pandemic?
I'm a level two som now, and it's not something that I knew I was gonna get into. I think it started when I was working fine dining. They asked me to take over that program, and I didn't know much about wine. But you know, when those opportunities come up, it's like the same thing. When I turned 21, they asked me to be a beverage manager. I didn't know anything about, but at that time, like I didn't know what whiskey, what tequila, what vodka. I didn't know the differences, the names. So freshly turned 21, and I took the opportunity. I learned. So same thing with when I worked fine dining. For whatever reason, they put me in charge of the wine. I mean, if you're around wine, like you can't even pronounce the stuff, right? So it's very foreign when you have to inventory wine, when you have to order wine. But I think being around it kind of led me to where I am today with my wine experience. It started there and fine dining. And then when I moved to Hawaii, the way we purchase wine is we're very close with the distributors. It's not like that in Vegas, but in Hawaii, you're very close with the distributors and the distributors are bringing you wine left and right. Taste this, taste that. This is this and that. So again, naturally, not something that I was looking for. I'm just getting more into wine, more into wine, more into wine, and tasting wine, learning about wine, doing wine pairing dinners with La Spinetta. You know, talking to these winemakers, very like pioneer winemakers. So it's like secretly there's like an appreciation growing for wine. And then of course the pandemic happens and my job is to put together a wine list. So it's like I have to learn this not because I wanted to or because I looked for it, right? It just fell on my lap and you want to know what you're selling. I want to get my job serious. So I'm building a list. I'm looking at other restaurants lists, looking at YouTube videos, kind of self-taught and building a wine list from scratch at a time that, there was very limited resources to the island. You know, the island was only bringing so much wine. So being very particular in what I was choosing. Is there enough of this wine to bring in? Is it worth bringing into the restaurant or am I going to run out of it in a week? So it's kind of learning those things, the ins and outs, kind of learning how to cost it out, learning how to sell it and upsell it. So then when, when I came back to Vegas, I decided to get my level one. And, uh, at that point now I'm like, all right, let me expand on this. I like wine. I'm drinking wine. I realize it's like golf. If you learn how to golf, which I still don't know how to golf, but that's one of my goals. If you learn how to golf, it's a good bridge to successful CEOs, people that are in places that you want to get to. It's the same thing with wine. Wine is a niche that if you tap into it, not everyone is into that and not everyone knows about it, but where you want to get, the CEOs and the successful people, right? They know about wine. So when you're someone that knows about wine and people know that you know about wine, when those people come into those restaurants, they send you. So now all of a sudden you have like a way to connect with that person, and it's strategic. So I'm like, okay, let me learn about wine. Let me be successful with wine. And fortunately, in the restaurant that I ended up in here in Vegas, Italian, there was no som. Most rooms have soms. So I got the opportunity. And again, like it wasn't something that was really asked of me. It's an opportunity that I saw. And, I was like, okay, I'm going to own the wine program. I'm going to be the som here. Obviously it's like, they call it, what do they call it? Sommager, because it's half som, half manager. But yeah, it's like a neglected area that I saw. It was amazing to see that the touch that I put on the wine list, uh, was able to generate over $1 million year over year in wine just by somebody paying attention to it, you know, adding Barolos to the by the glass program, adding, uh, high end Pinot Noir, Cab, adding Sancerre. I think you like Sancerre, right? I remember that. So those opportunities, and then kind of seeing you're at a very high end resort and your prices don't take advantage of that, and your neighbors with restaurants that have very high end wine, same clientele walking around, right? Same people staying in the hotel. So I think identifying that, taking off the I don't know how to put it, but like the Stella Rose quality wine, it's like just taking that stuff off and then putting stuff that I knew was successful from working in different restaurants, and wines that I knew like backstory for, wines that I knew the winemaker for. Like I brought La Spinetta in, and you're able to take that wine to the table and really talk about it, because you like invested in it. It's like if you had your own wine, I would go to the table like proudly, like this is Chef Joe's wine, like she's this and that and this, and like her journey. Like it's easy to sell wine that way if you know and have an appreciation for wine. So yeah, I think timing, right time, right place, and then being able to recognize those opportunities, and not only just recognizing, but following through on that. Because I think a lot of people recognize a whole bunch of stuff, but they just leave it like somebody else will do it. I think when you do recognize an opportunity, you have to jump on it. That's your time to shine. That's your time to showcase what you can do. And I think that that's how I operate now. The room that I'm in now is okay. I see that. All right, you jump on it. It's easy to just do the same thing, same way. It's very easy. But if you want to grow in your career, you have to identify opportunities, call them out, and say, this is what I'm going to do, and then do it. And you're the GOAT. You become the GOAT.
Absolutely. I definitely agree to everything that you just said. And you always have to strike while the iron is hot. There's no such thing as, well, I'm not ready right now, or probably I'm going to be ready tomorrow. No, you have to just do it and see how it goes. So, you've been in the leadership position for the long time. How do you define leadership today compared to when you first became a manager?
I think it's important to not be so to yourself. I think when you're first coming up in a leadership role, you're responsible and you're just kind of working in your own path. But I think as you grow in leadership, especially when you start interviewing for higher roles, executives are not looking for what you did or what you can do. They're looking more for like the impact you have on the general team. So how will people follow you? How will you inspire people? How will you impact everyone? Like we know you can make a schedule. We know you can manage your costs. Like that's day to day manager stuff, right? That's 101. But what can you do like as a whole for the team? What kind of leadership are you going to build from under you? If I'm a GM, what are my managers like? How can I strengthen them? How can I prepare my AGM to be a GM? So I think now to me, that's leadership, right? Is those bigger picture things rather than making sure the restaurant operates, making sure you order things. Like, I think when you start, you're like, okay, I'm the manager. It's my job to do those things, right? Which are important. But as you grow into a higher level leader, it's less about those things and it's more about just bigger picture.
I really like what you've said about when you hire, you want to make sure you're producing future leaders as good as you. So let's go back to wine, Alan. If there's one wine that will describe your life right now, what would it be?
Jeez, that's a good question. Describe my life right now. I guess go like something high end, right? Like a opus. I don't know why everybody thinks I'm bougie. You've been calling me Kanye, which since we met, but that didn't age well. So we gotta change my rapper name. We
We'll
gotta
change
change
it
my rapper name.
we'll change it to K dot.
Yeah, that works. That works. Like even Drake doesn't work anymore. So much controversy.
If your life is a cocktail right now, what cocktail is it?
I guess, timeless classic, like an old fashioned or a Godfather. Those are my favorite cocktails. So I think that's like a cocktail it's wise. It knows some things. It's been aged. A little smoky. It's like a drink. Oh,
Mm.
it's not
Uh,
like a vodka cran. That's like you're a kid.
Back when you're like 21 and just like ready to go to the club, vodka cran.
Mm.
Do you want to expand more of your wine learning? Perhaps go to Italy or Spain for, for trainings and explore the wine that they have in this particular region.
I'll always have a passion for it, and I'll always be intrigued by it. And if I'm in those areas, of course, I'm always going to stop by a wine tasting or a winery, which I have. I checked out wineries when I went to Greece. I checked out wines when I went to Italy. So that's always going to be I'm always going to make time for that. But I always tell this joke, right? As a level two, level three, you really have to start. That's like when you start really, really tasting and identifying. And I have the worst smell ever and I eat way too much hot sauce. So I think like level two is where I'm capped. Like I can nail a wine, but compared to colleagues that are like doing that as a real, like that's their life, like they're like miles ahead of me. So I guess where I'm at right now, I'm in a luxury breakfast environment. It doesn't really coincide the wine with me, but you never know. Probably in the future, I can pick up the bookmark and start thinking about level three. Now it's like I'm thinking about mimosas and coffee and all of that.
All the good stuff in the morning. Alan, you're a dad now. How was fatherhood change your perspective both at work and in life?
Being a father now, you're more conscious of your time instead of being okay with 16 hours, 18 hours. Like now it's like, all right, I'm cutting myself off at this time because I have to go pick up my son or because I want to see my son before he goes to bed. So making that decision of the work-life balance, which is not a decision that everyone makes. Some people don't put importance on that. But I myself, it's very important to me that I'm there for my son and that I have a bond with him. So I always know what time I'm leaving work. Sometimes maybe I'll be a little late to leaving, but there's always like in my mind, I'm leaving at this time. It always depends on what's going on with my son, where he's at. If I know that he's out somewhere and he's not going to be home, I also recognize those opportunities, right? Like, all right, let me keep going, work, 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 work. So just knowing how to balance that, I think is important.
What did your son taught you the first 3 years of his life?
I think to be very mindful and very calculated. And I don't know that everyone reaches that level of um like insight, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but uh I can see what my son is learning. I can see like the discipline I'm instilling in him. Yeah, you only get one chance to raise your kids. So I think you have to be I've learned to be very calculated with him and very mindful. I read a lot of articles and developments. So whatever you produce as an offspring, when they're 18 or whatever, it's going to show what you instilled in them. It's going to show, again, the discipline, the character. Like my son, thankfully, like I haven't really exposed him to iPads or phones or anything like that. So again, all those things are by choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Candy as well. He's gotten a little bit more away with it now, but there's always been like a big emphasis on like keeping him away from sugar. Honestly, he doesn't really ask for it. He's not big on ice cream. I don't remember the last time he had ice cream. All of those things are intentional. You have to
Mm-hmm.
care. You have to care about your kid's diet. You have to care about, again, what they're watching, what you're saying around them. If you're a religious person, like you have to instill that, you got to teach them those things. Who you are and how you carry yourself, it's going to rub off on them. So I think that's one thing that he's taught me and is still teaching me.
If 5-year-old Romeo can talk to 8-year-old Alan, what would Alan's message for Rome would be?
I think I would tell him, oh, you're very loved. Your parents love you, and listen to your parents. He I was like a cranky kid, and I see that in him. I don't know if it's an Aries thing or what, but like it's so funny. He's 3 years old and he'll like stomp his feet and he'll say, "That's it, that's it." All right, that's it. And then even in pictures, right? Like he makes like a mean face in pictures and
Mhm.
I have the same pictures. So definitely my child, it's very important to think about yourself at that age and recognize that you had a whole brain. I think sometimes we're like, oh, they're kids, they don't know. They're not thinking about this, that, but like think about yourself at that age and you'll remember like you had thoughts, you were thinking very like adult feelings and adult things. So
Mhm.
it's important to recognize that and kind of treat them like an adult as well. I think at like 9, 10 years old, like I took myself very serious. I was already doing things with my own little businesses. I think that's because I grew up in an environment where people talk to me like I was an adult. So I want to do the same thing with him. It's like talk to him like he's an adult and he'll think of himself as like a serious person, not just like a kid that can't do anything. I think it's important to instill that like you're a human being and you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter how young you are.
Wow. So you and your son are both Arieses.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Dang.
I know.
Fun fact,
Huh.
my daughter and I are both Gemini Jedis.
Yeah, Gemini Jedi's, huh?
So it's like, I'm pretty sure that when your son gets into his teenage years, you're looking really like it's kind of like a mirror reflection of how you were acting back at the age
Yeah,
you were.
yeah.
Yeah, it's bananas and pajamas, man. And they have a saying that the apple or the fruit doesn't fall far from the
Far
tree
from
or
the tree.
something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Uh-huh.
that's definitely true, especially if you both share the star signs. But one thing that I know about Aries are they are very go-getter. Put their mind into something, it's like won't stop, can't stop. You guys always rise up to the occasion and take no shit for nothing.
Yeah, there's no losing's not an option for Aries. It's like you need to win no matter what. So I don't think we have that in us to be okay with like losing, which is
Thing is,
it sounds toxic, but I think it's worked for me how I carry myself and being in rooms with maybe hard conversations. Like I've never been afraid of conflict. I've never been afraid to be direct and transparent. I think that's a great Aries trait. That a lot of times, rubs people the wrong way, but again, you gotta trust the process and just embrace that. Like you're that guy, you're that
yeah.
person that is not afraid to say what they're thinking and is not afraid of kind of owning what they're saying and owning their message and owning their purpose. No matter who gets upset, I think that's a trait that I value that sometimes brings me stress and sometimes brings me conflict, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful to have that trait.
Yeah, you gotta have to own it. It's either people will accept you for who you are, or they can find another Alan in their life that they will never gonna find.
Yeah, yeah, you're lost.
You're leading one of the most high pressure roles in the hospitality. How do you take care of yourself in the middle of it all, mentally, emotionally, and physically?
And lots of gym, lots and lots of gym. I think that's been a very helpful outlet for me. It's one place where I really can disconnect and family. Those are the two places where like I stopped thinking about work. The gym, because obviously like you're busy, you're doing stuff, you're running. So even if you are thinking about work, it's like more controlled. It's more like therapeutic. And then with your family too, you disconnect. You're able to be distracted from your work stuff. Is when you are like alone or on the way to work, whatever, that's when like all the things, your responsibilities come up. When I'm trying to go to sleep, that's when my mind's racing. Like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, that. All your free time should be with your family at the gym. I think it's what gives you the opportunity to balance and kind of get out of those responsibilities and just disconnect.
I totally agree with you. And like, even before going to sleep or while you're during sleep, you still think about your work sometimes because
Oh yeah.
the printer in the kitchen, like, did it. I
Hmm.
would have nightmares because of those tickets, or like I would wake up in the middle of the night. Did I place my order for produce for tomorrow or something
Oh
like that,
yeah, I
right?
do that all the time. I check my phone and make sure I press submit. That's the worst when you forget to
Yeah.
submit an order. Never again.
What advice would you give people who wants to have hospitality, food and beverage as a career?
I would say just prepare. It's not an easy job, you know. It's not for everyone. So prepare for the grind, you know, prepare to put in hours, but also it comes with a lot of great relationships, you know, a lot of perks, right? It's a small community, you know, you all take care of each other. You get to meet people, right, that you would have never met anywhere else, whether it's, you know, business owners or politicians, celebrities, whatever. Like you would have never had access to them. For all of the grind and the things that are hard, there's a lot of, you know, rewards to reap. So I would just say, you know, if you're willing to go through all that, then, you know, do it. It's great because on the other side, you get a lot of opportunity. I would have never worked in Hawaii, right? That was an opportunity. I got to live in paradise. You know, 5 minutes from a luxurious beach. Like that came to me from the industry that I work in and you as well. Right. And even in my future, like I'm looking at other things, other amazing places. If you have that skill set and that resume of being in the hospitality industry, especially in Las Vegas, the world is your oyster. You know, you can go anywhere in the world and with that experience, really, succeed, really
Hmm.
succeed.
It's definitely not a not a dream job, but it's more of a lifestyle that you have to adapt and learn how to love. Have there been any moments where you questioned your path even after all your success?
Yeah, definitely. You learn to be open to different opportunities. Like yourself, like you do a whole bunch of stuff. And myself as well is like I like business, I like investing, I like real estate. I think there was like a time in high school that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I think working in union environments and going through those things where there's contracts and things like that, I like that. I'm attracted to that. So I'm 32 years old. Like who's to say I can't change career paths and be a lawyer. I think I'm very well aware that what I'm doing now is not what I'm going to be doing in 5 years. And I think people should be open to whatever comes your way, be open to it. And if it feels right, go for it. Again, going back to the Hawaii thing, I could have been like, no, I'm staying home, my family, Vegas. It was scary, it was a scary transition. And I think that I looked for a bunch of different excuses not to go. And then I realized, okay, I'm getting what I want, right? What I asked for. They're making it easy for me to relocate with the relocation package. They're sending my car over there. Am I just being, you know, just being a sissy? Am I just being a punk? And you gotta
Yep.
ask yourself, like, are you, you know? And it's like, why am I not doing this? And you just make that decision, like, freaking do it. So that's gonna go with everything in your career. When those things come up, when those opportunities come up, you know, if they're good for you and they feel right, you're either going to stay in your same position, comfortable, and which is okay too, or you're going to push for greatness and push yourself because it's always going to be a challenge to do something new. And you just got to decide what you want for yourself. And if you want those things, again, I think that there might be a time where I'm like good where I'm at. I'm not there yet now, but again, being open, I'm open to that. I feel good. Let me just do this. This is where I feel comfortable. But who knows if I'll ever get there? But I'll be open to it if I do get there. Maybe. I don't know. Have you got in there where you just feel good? This is it? Are you still,
Yeah.
you know, trying to do new things?
Actually trying to do new things right now. As
Yeah, you see? So we'll see if we ever get there.
The thing is, cooking will always be something that is very close to my heart. But I think a part of me wants to fulfill my inner child's dream that was never brought to life. Because in the Philippines, you're all forced to be a nurse. I did
Mm.
nursing 4 years, and I just can't work in the hospital. I get too emotionally attached with my patients, and it's not for me. I found culinary just a different way to connect and to create. But when I was a kid, I want to be a journalist. I want to be
Oh
able
yeah,
to yeah, I want to be able to talk to people and know their story and share their stories. And I think this is the reason why I'm doing this podcast right now, to
that's
fulfill
awesome.
that part
Yeah,
of that. So it's not that profesh, but at least I'm doing something not only for myself, but for other people to share their story and for others to also be inspired by their story, because sometimes it only takes one person to hear your story, and that somebody will actually take your story and use that as a driving force for their success. And that's my goal.
Yeah, no, I'm where I am because of platforms like yours, like I'm constantly watching interviews of people that I respect and subconsciously like all those messages, I think they you fill yourself up with them, so you have like a way of thinking. You have to be very careful like, what you allow into your mind, into your system. So for me, I'm very well aware that I've had the success that I've had and I'm where I am because of those things that I intake, whether it's again, motivational, whether it's gym, whether it's business, whether it's restaurants, wine, like there's so much out there that, you can really like create a catalog for yourself and even an algorithm, right? On YouTube or Instagram, all that, like, and you're really biohacking yourself and your mind. If there was no like platforms like yours, like who knows what we, like how would I would have to read, invest more time in reading, which I think is a little harder than watching a video. And then now there's like short snippets, makes it even easier. Like point across right away in the minute. Boom, that's in my system. And you carry that throughout the day. And sometimes there's things that you watch that like they stay with you. All these ideas that something resonates with you, like it stays with you for years. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's good what you're doing. Exactly what you said. You should that's very meaningful and very purposeful for yourself that hopefully this and the next 10 that you do really do give inspire people to you know get them through whatever they're going through.
Yeah, thank you so much. And sometimes people gets discouraged. Also, like they would be like, "Oh, I have so little views." For example, I have 15 views or like 20 views. But imagine a room of those 20 people that actually listened to what conversation you had with your guest. That's a room full of people already. And I think people sometimes, even I'm guilty about this to myself, is that it's appreciating the little things in life. So, speaking of, we've talked about inner child. When you were a kid, did you have any other dream when you want to grow up?
Yeah, I was big into writing, and I think I still am very good at writing, whether it's email or text message. Like I'm very good at expressing myself. But at a young age, I wanted to be an author, and then as I got older, I was into music. Like me and my brother would produce beats. I think like at 10 years old, I was like selling beats to people in France. Then, that led to writing music. It led to recording music. Inner child, there's that. We put out an album. I think we got like 100,000, 200,000 views for a music video we did. But yeah, I think again, one of those crossroads moments was like, do I want to be on the road all the time? Do I want to
Mm-hmm.
be touring? Things like that. And what's more important to me is family, and the two things didn't coincide. So to me, family was more important. So I kind of let that talent go, which is a very good talent. You put it on the shelf, and I don't know. You never know. Maybe one day you use it again. Maybe one day my son wants to make music, and I have like the ability to help him, and I can give him a few pointers. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's helped me because I've been on stage with 1,000 people. That's helped me be comfortable in front of people, whether it's at pre-shift or random things like recording things at work, or just being comfortable expressing yourself, like not having stage fright. All kind of has worked together for me. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
like I still look kind of cool, right?
Yeah, Daddy Yankee. You look like an upgrade of Daddy Yankee right now. That's for sure, for
Dang,
sure.
no way, no way.
You know what? You actually look like Mexican version of Lewis Hamilton. Not gonna lie, bro.
Yeah, that's funny. So I'm a race car driver now.
Yeah, that's my other daddy. But
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm not quite sure, since we're already talking about like wine and spirits and a little bit off topic, but I know that he has a tequila that is alcohol free that he produced. Have you tasted it before?
I did hear about it. I haven't tasted it, but I have tasted spirit sugar-free alcohols. They send me some samples before, like their spirit-free gin, tequila, vodka. It tastes very similar. It's a growing market,
Mm.
especially the younger, early 20s. They say they're not really drinking anymore. It's not a thing. Even wine as well. Unfortunately, I think the truth is that community is kind of getting smaller. We'll see what happens. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
direction, maybe not from a business standpoint, but it's something that I recognized in the Italian restaurant that I worked at. Mocktails are a trend. They shouldn't be a afterthought. Whatever, a blueberry soda with a mint is very carelessly put together. So last year when we redid new cocktails, I asked that we put more emphasis on mocktails, and I was able to put a higher price point because it was just elevated garnishes, elevated ingredients, non-alcoholic champagne. We had a non-alcoholic Aperol spritz.
Oh wow.
So these things are available now, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a community that is alcohol free. So I recognize that, and you gotta catch those trends while they're hot, and that's one of the trends right now that is hot, So make sure you have a good mocktail program because it's a thing, It's definitely a thing,
Yeah.
and you can make money off of it,
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely. And also for athletes, like a lot of athletes wants to get the experience without doing the bad decision. So
yeah,
it's actually marketable for athletes. I'm not gonna name names right now. I actually were a starting player for a football team here or a soccer team here in Germany. And
nice.
one of the things that it's on their portfolio when it comes to any ingredients that you can add on their food is no alcohol, strictly no alcohol in any food. And sometimes alcohol creates a very beautiful flavor, especially with sauces. Having non-alcoholic products, like the way you said, it's a booming market because of health preference too as well. You get the experience without having to deal with the aftermath of it. And it also, gets you to a level where with your creativity and how much you can create out of this particular ingredient.
Yeah, and it's enjoyable. It's guilt-free or consequence-free, right? Because you're not gonna wake up with a hangover. You're not gonna get too tipsy. So definitely, I order mocktails when I don't feel like drinking. You don't want
Mm-hmm.
just plain water, and I'm not big on soda, so it's nice. And there's some very talented mixologists out there that again put emphasis and care into creating a mocktail, and I think that if you're not doing that yet in your restaurant, then you should definitely do that because you'd be surprised how much you sell, right? Better than
Mm-hmm.
a $6 soda to sell, a $10, $12 mocktail.
It's more marketable, and I think for the experience as it is, especially for kids. Oh, this is how tequila tastes like, mom. Something like
Yeah,
that.
I was at a steakhouse yesterday, and there's no
Mm.
age limit here to drink. No, right? As long as the parent is there. I was shook. I'd never seen this before in my life. Like not even in Mexico. I think Mexico is like 18. But here, like I was having dinner with the nice family, and 15-year-olds, even younger, like 14-year-olds, they're sipping wine. I'm like, what? And
Yep.
it was kind of nice to see them like be responsible too. They weren't like
Mm-hmm.
3 rounds. It was just like nice
Mm-hmm.
little steak, a little wine. I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. All right, cultured.
Yep, very cultured. Here in Europe, for as long as the teenagers are with their parents, 15 or 16-year-old can actually have a beer or a wine with their meal.
Crazy. Yeah, yeah, crazy. I was
Yep.
I was
Uh,
yesterday years old. I
I
didn't know
think
that was a
Amer-
thing.
I think Americans are not that responsible. That's why you have to be 21 to drink, bro.
I believe it too. Yeah, can't have nice things.
If you could go back and talk to your 5-year-old Alan, what would you tell him?
Dude, I would tell them invest in Bitcoin. No, I would just trust the process. You're gonna do great things. Believe in yourself. I think it's important for kids to hear those things. Yeah. Which again, like I think that I never struggled with that. Thankfully, I think I always had support from friends and family. My parents supported my ambition. Um, so it's pretty cool. I won like first place drawing at the Bellagio when I was in kindergarten. I was selling like comics in middle school and going back to the beats like I was making beats 10, 11, 12 years old and doing that, and I was singing and traveling 15, 16 years old, making like $1,000. And it was because no one ever really rained on my parade or told me that I couldn't, I always had support. So I would tell any kid that age, 5, 6, 7, like I would support whatever they want to do, because who am I to tell someone like, no, don't do that. You can't do that. Like the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
We as adults are a generation that's being supportive to our kids and not naysaying them or anything like that. Like, I think anything really is possible, we should be supporting the kids in our lives.
If you were standing in front of a mirror right now, what would you say to yourself?
Keep doing what you're doing. Uh, you're a good person, and yeah, just lock in.
I always ask this question to all my guests. What's one thing you've unboxed in your life? Something you discovered about yourself or life that changed everything?
I think learning recently that communication is very good, is an amazing tool that we aren't really taught. I mean, like I wasn't really taught uh, how important it was. Went to a therapist for the first time last year. That was it was very life changing, to be able to open up and communicate. Like even this podcast, I don't know that I would be as good on this podcast last year or the year before as I am now because I learned communication is a skill that you have to work on and you have to put importance on it. And once you unbox that and realize how important communication is, well, it'll develop every area in your life. It's relationship with the partner, with your kids, relationships at work, relationship with friends, family. It's a skill that you have to learn, and that a lot of good can come of it. And if you don't have that skill, a lot of bad can come of it. So it's something that I learned recently. And again, going back to the therapy, it was very interesting to learn different perspectives on things that I was going through and ways that I was thinking, presenting that to a professional and them challenging you by saying, well, what about this? Did you ever consider this? And it's like, if you're not communicating to anyone, like you don't have that having that with a therapist, it's very insightful. It's very helpful. There's nothing, I wish that more people would tap into that, would unlock that because there's a lot of good that comes from it. And it's a maintenance thing. It's not something that ends. It's not something that, you could check off like, okay, I went to therapy. It's like a maintenance thing. Like you constantly
Mm-hmm.
have things going on in your life. You constantly need feedback from people. You constantly think certain ways that might not be the right way to think. So if you're constantly going to therapy, I think it's a very good tool, very good source of just challenging the way you think, challenging your perspectives, and learning a lot about yourself as well, and learning a lot about the ways that you think and kind of changing the way you think as well. You learn a lot about your behaviors and
Mm-hmm.
the way that you process things. And once you learn it, that you do these things, you're very mindful. You tell yourself like, oh, I'm doing that thing again, and you change it. So it's pretty cool. I think it's something that I've recently unboxed and that I would recommend. People unbox that
Mm-hmm.
because it's a very very big pillar in your life. That if you can master communication, it's going to be a very great. Only good can come from it.
I couldn't agree even more, and that's a very beautiful statement. I think therapy, especially people that has been working in the food and beverage and hospitality industry, is much needed because of the workload that we all have. And especially, it's nice to have a third person that is not a family or a friend that will be there to actually let you know and tell you how you can work on yourself without judgment.
Highly recommend.
Alan, do you have any message to your fans?
My fans, huh?
Yeah.
Hi fans, reach out. Again, I love relationships. I love being there for people. Being successful is not a monetary thing. It's not a title thing. Being successful is where you're in a position to help people. And I won't feel really successful until I can help like tremendously a lot of people in my life. To this point, I've always put a lot of importance to that. I've always helped people get jobs. I've always helped people connect them to certain people like, oh, you should know this person, things like that. So I enjoy relationships and staying in touch with people, and don't be afraid. I enjoy helping people as well, so don't be afraid to reach out.
And not but not the least, your haters.
Haters, huh? Just keep watching. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. We're just getting started over here. I feel like there's so much more to accomplish. So keep watching or hit that unfollow.
Well, Alan, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share your story and your journey. I'm very inspired from the very beginning how your journey has become until you've stepped into that ladder of success. It's such a wonderful feeling to see not only a colleague but a friend of mine to actually get to where he wanted to be. It's kind of like getting to that F1 race and you're on that final lap and you're the one who actually like passed through that flag, and it's just amazing. It's amazing to see people you admire grow and succeed in life.
No, same, vice versa. I tell you all the time, my hero, you're doing things fearlessly. And didn't you say like you moved to Germany and aren't
Mhm.
you moving somewhere else, right?
We'll see.
Possibly. Yeah,
Possibly.
so if I'm making the moves, that I'm making, it's because I have people like yourself in my life that inspire and our entrepreneurial spirit and things like that. Those things inspire you. Our colleagues, our people are doing these things. That means you can do it too, and vice versa. I'm sure when people see me do certain things, like it inspires them, and it's just a big effect. So more of that, because we're all here to again support each other and be there for each other, and there's room for everyone in every industry. You don't really have to compete with people. You really don't. It's a huge world. You get farther in life building relationships and everyone just rising together.
Mm-hmm. We have to pull each other up instead of pulling each other down.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I thank you so much for the opportunity. It was fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alan. Alan Castellanos is living proof that grit, humility, and deep connection to who you are can take you places, titles that you never could. From bussing tables to managing a world-class food and beverage operation, his story reminds us that growth isn't always loud. It's consistent and it's personal. To everyone listening, if this episode inspired you or made you think of someone who might relate, don't forget to share it. And if you haven't yet, follow Unbox with Joe for more unfiltered conversation every other Wednesday. Till next time, take care and keep unboxing the real you.
Yay.